Well, Real Nick Miles says, I like this guy, walk away. I'm going to follow him.
You're still fired, Nick.
Guys, you're watching a live chat with Walkaway's own Brandon Straka. Please mount that like button if you have not already. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't had a chance to do that yet. And if you have a question you would like Brandon to answer, please send in a super chat. We have a bunch of super chats, but we're going to go through them a little bit later. But, definitely keep the chats coming in, guys. So, like, just looking back on the last year, what was your, if you don't mind talking about it, what was kind of like your lowest moment? And what was a moment that maybe surprised you from the last year?
Okay, my lowest moment. I mean, there were a lot. I mean, there were a lot. I mean, I don't even know if I could honestly pick which was the lowest, but I can tell you, it was a really low moment the day that I discovered that they had me on the terrorism list at the airport, because at that point I was only a few months out from being in jail, and I suffered significant trauma from being raided by the FBI, cuffed, taken to jail, and then I had to spend days in 24-hour lockdown in a cell. And so I mean, I honestly, Carlin, for months, I woke up every night, like for the first 2 weeks, I would wake up like gasping for air. Like I would shoot up in bed and I'd be like, and then I would have to get out of bed, and I would spend the rest of the night pacing around my apartment. And those first weeks, the PTSD was horrific. I mean, I was every 5 minutes, I was looking out the window, and I lived on the 6th floor, mind you. I don't know what I was expecting to see, but like I was constantly looking out the window just to see if like somebody was out there, if people were looking, if people were watching. I would run to my door constantly and look through the peephole every time. My God, if I heard a neighbor make a noise or a footsteps on my ceiling or something, I mean, it would just, then I'd go running to the door and looking through the peephole, and my heart is pounding, and I would wake up constantly every night. And that went on for months and months. And so, I mean, that was horrible. And then in the midst of kind of processing that, I get the letter on my door telling me that I'm being kicked out in 30 days. And it was a really low point the first time I went to the airport, and I discovered that I was on this terrorism list, and that they had to put me through all this extra screening. And when they do it, they also like section off a lane just for you. So it's a big production, and like everyone's watching, everyone's paying attention, because it's really unusual. I mean, normally you go to the airport and you throw your bag through the thing and you walk through the detector and you go about your business. But then you see that you've got like 9 agents in the lane next to you and one person, and they're sticking their hand down the person's pants, and they're pulling the items out of the bag and swabbing it with a special thing and sticking it in a machine and waiting for the machine to come back, whether it has explosive materials or not. And they're taking pictures of all the boarding passes and stuff. I mean, everyone's watching, and I'm literally just sitting there going, like, having flashbacks to when the FBI took me to jail, and I'm like trying not to like start shaking and have a nervous breakdown at the airport. And this happens, by the way, every time I travel. That was a low point. It was.
Are you going to get taken off of that list now that you've only pled guilty to a misdemeanor that's yelling at a cop?
I don't know. Well, and that's not even what the misdemeanor is for, by the way. It's a disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. So it has nothing even to do with that. But I'm going to try, and there are steps that they say that you can take. And I will let everyone know. I mean, if I get taken off that list, believe me, I'll be the first to be like celebrating hallelujah on Twitter. The thing is, I'm just not going to hold my breath and like expect that, because they don't even have to tell you why they did it. I mean, of course we know why they did it, but it's the rules are not like they don't have rules that say, if you're found innocent, or if you had felony charges but the felonies are dropped. I mean, they can put you on this list for any reason. Like, if they may find out that somebody was at the Capitol who didn't even get charged, maybe they didn't even commit a crime, but they might say, you know what, this person went to the Capitol, this person believes that the election was stolen, and that's enough for us. Let's put them on the watch list. I mean, they can do it for any reason they want, and they're under no obligation to take you off it. So I'll try, but I'm just not going to hold my breath about it. Mm-hmm. But it was also a low point when so many people who had done walkaway events stopped answering my text messages and my phone calls. I mean, not just like ancillary people or, people on the periphery who, I don't know that well or I don't talk to that often. I mean, and not to sound douchey, but I mean, there are people that I feel like I really elevated their profile and I really helped their career, and they probably wouldn't even have the following that they have or the recognition that they have if I hadn't worked so hard to help lift up their voice. And now they're not answering my calls and texts, and I'm just like, really? Like, that was a low point for me. There have been so many. And then when I got served in the civil suit in September, which, by the way, really, this is a story that really needs to be told. And I don't know how to get conservatives interested in talking about this, but this is a law firm in Washington, D.C. They're heavily funded. I think if someone did a tiny bit of research, they'd probably find that this is like a DNC funded or a George Soros funded nonprofit law firm in DC. They claim to be a law firm that specializes in like racial justice cases and things like that. And they found, in my opinion, found 7 Capitol Police officers who are mostly Black and brown people. And they filed a civil lawsuit against me and against a number of other people, including Donald Trump and Roger Stone and a bunch of people. And they're just blatantly lying. I don't mean it's like subject for opinion, like it's, well, you think this and I think that. I mean, quite literally, in the complaint against me, they say that Mr. Strzok violently breached barricades to enter the Capitol grounds and then assaulted police officers, including the plaintiffs.
Right, exactly.
These are people I've never met. Like, yeah. I wasn't even on the same side of the building as they were. They're blatantly lying. So, I mean, that was a low point. There were too many low points to count.
Was there anything surprising about the last year for you?
Well, I mean, I was definitely surprised by See, I hate saying this because I feel like it's going to come across as ego. And I swear on a stack of Bibles, I do not mean it from a place of ego. I really, truly don't. But it's like, if you had told me a year and a half ago that Brandon Straka, the founder of the Walkaway movement, who's a pretty well loved and supported public figure in the world of conservative politics, I have a wonderful following, and I have a lot of, I'm speaking on the main stage at CPAC, and I'm doing Fox News interviews on a regular basis and things like that. But if you had told me that you could just sort of make me disappear and that no one would really say anything, I just wouldn't have believed it was possible. And so I guess I was really surprised to find I don't know if you would call it a lack of support or if you would call it just like brazen cowardice. But just the fact that people will just so quickly, I mean, Carlin, I honestly believe that I could have died in this last year and no one would have ever said anything. Like no one would have ever been like, what happened to the walk? I don't mean my following. I don't mean that my supporters, but I mean like the news. Like, I don't think anyone would ever be like the Walkaway guy who was on our network 100 times in the last couple of years died in his apartment. Like, I think I would have just, like, it never would be brought up again.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't my ego, but what it is like Walkaway is an amazing thing. And it's a really valuable and crucial and necessary component to the success of the conservative movement. I believe that conservatives will not succeed going forward if they don't support Walkaway. And so it's like, why would you so easily just give it up? Like, why would you so easily just be like, oh, well, I guess Walkaway is over. Oh, Brandon got arrested. I guess that's done. Like, I don't like that type of thing. And, I'm the kind of person that, like, I'll dig in my heels and I'll fight until my last breath. So I'm like, I just don't get the mentality of like, oh, well, yeah, I guess that's done. Brandon got arrested.